Hi everyone, I'm hopeful that all you'll be fine. In today's session, we will learn how you can actually integrate the Zoom Web SDK as a component view. In the last sessions, we have learned how you can actually integrate the Web SDK as a web client. For this demonstration, we will create a Next.js app. I have already opened a terminal. Let's navigate to the terminal and we will create a Next.js app from the scratch. So we need to type here npx create next app and we name this Zoom Web SDK Next.js. Okay, enter and we will wait until app will be generated. Okay, app is successfully generated. Now we need to navigate to the VS Code and we are inside the Zoom Web SDK Next.js project. Here we first need to create an API endpoint wherefrom we will generate the Zoom meeting joining token, either I can say the signature. So inside the pages, inside the API folder, we need to create a folder and I will name it Zoom. And inside the Zoom, I will create a file called index.js. Before that, we first need to install two packages. So first one is a JSRSA sign package, which we will use to sign the credentials regarding the meeting SDK and we will generate a signature. Okay, we need to import that here. So we say const kjur require and we say JSRSS sign. Okay, and then we need to build a endpoint handler. So we say export default function handler and we say request response. We first need to create the issue date and expiry. So I'm just going to copy and pasting the code snippet for the issue date and expiry. Okay, so there are a little bit math calculation regarding the expiry of the token signature. Then we need to create a header. Inside the header, we need to create two fields called algorithm, and we say it here algorithm HS256, and then we need to set the type by TYP. Okay, so the type will be JWT, and then we need to define the payload. So we say payload. Inside the payload, we need to define the SDK key. Okay, so for the SDK, we need to create a constant inside the root directory. So I'm just going to create a directory called constants. And inside the constant, we need to create Zoom constants. Either I can say Zoom.js. Okay. Inside that, we need to create a const variable called Zoom. And inside that, we need to define the SDK. And here we need to define key and the secret. This constants will be totally lie on a server side. We are going to hide the secret. That's why I created this Next.js project, because Zoom have officially recommended that you must be need to generate the signatures from server side to keep your secret. Okay, so that's why I selected Next.js so that we can combine the UI part and the API part in the same project. Okay, then we need to export this. So we say module.export, and inside that we need to pass the Zoom. Need to format this, and inside the index we need to import that. So we say const, and we will set the path inside the require. So here we say root directory and constants inside the Zoom. Okay, from there we need to import Zoom. Okay, and here we need to call zoom.sdk.key. Okay, and then we need to set the meeting number. We will get the meeting number from the body of the request. So request.body.meeting number. And we also needed the role. So we will also get that from body. So we say request body role. And we need to define the issue date. We will get this issue date from here. And we set that inside the payload. And we also need to set the expiry. And we will also set the expiry here. And then we need to stringify this header and payload. So we say here is header. And we need to call json.stringify. And we need to pass header. And we also need to stringify the payload. So we say is payload json.stringify, and we will paste here payload. And then we need to sign the payload using our secret. So here we say const meeting signature. Okay, and we need to call kjur.kjur.jws and sign. Okay. First, we need to pass the algorithm parameter. So we pass HS256. Then it requires header, a stringified header, so we pass as header. Then we need to pass as payload. So we say as payload, and then we need to sign this payload with our secret, which we have created inside Zoom object. So we say zoom.stk.secret, okay? And then from here, we need to return response.json. And inside the response, we need to response back the signature. And we say meeting signature, and also we need to return back SDK key. And we will also pass the SDK key from Zoom SDK key. Need to format the code, okay? And then inside the pages, now we need to create a component for the meeting. So we name it Zoom.js. And here, before implementing anything inside the Zoom.js file, we first need to install two packages. And first one is npm ixos. And second one is a Zoom WebSDK package. So we say npm add zoom us/WebSDK. Okay, we need to first build the project. We say npm run dev, and we will open a browser. Here we need to redirect to localhost port 3000. Hit enter. Just compiling and building. Okay, the project is successfully compiled, and we have seen that on the page. Now we need to stop this, and then we first need to import the Axios package. So we say const Axios require, and here we need to import the Axios. We cannot directly import the WebSDK package. If you directly import the SDK package with the latest React version, then you will face problems. So that's why we will apply a trick so we can get the Zoom WebSDK package loaded successfully inside the component. Okay. So here we need to create a component called const meeting, and we need to define, and here we need to set the component display name. We set this Zoom component view, and we need to export this. So we say export default meeting. Save this, and here we just need to return a simple div, and here we say here will be meeting. Save this. Now run once again the project. Just need to refresh the page, and here we need to navigate to the Zoom, okay? And the Zoom component is loaded successfully. We need to remove this body styling from the global styles globals. Here we need to define body, and we need to remove this background colors. Save this. Now it is fine. And now inside the meeting component, we first need to import the WebSDK package using the use effect hook, okay? So we say use effect, and inside the use effect, we will need to return a promise, okay? So we say return new promise, and here we say async, we say resolve, reject, okay? And then we need to define the handler. We need to bind then, say async, need to get the client, which we will import inside this handler of the promise, and then we will just need to define then, and we will implement all the joining logic and getting the signature logic here. And also we need to define the case so we can get error if we have a paste inside that promise. So you will say console.log error inside use effect, okay? And we need to log the error. We also need to pass the empty array as the values. And still we have no any problem with the code. Now we need to import the WebSDK by typing const zoom embed await import, say at zoom us/websdk/embed, and we need to call default. Okay, save this, and we will see if any problem on the page. We can see we have a destroyed problem, so we can refresh. We will overcome that issue. Here we need to resolve this, and we will create the client from Zoom embed. So we say zoom.embed.create client, save this. Now we can see the issue is gone. Okay, you can see here is only white page, nothing there. Okay, now we need to first initialize the client by calling client.init, and inside the init we need to set language. I think if we define the client inside here so that we can get the IntelliSense. Okay, and then I will just move the code block to the then block, to the then handler. Okay, so we just need to create a let client, and here we need to say resolve client. Okay, now you can see here we have IntelliSense are working here. So we say language, we are setting in US, and we need to set the Zoom app root. Okay, so inside this we will set the HTML element. We will create the component layout here. So we say div, and we need to define class name. Inside the class name we will set some styling, and this will be a global container, and we will divide this container into 3 columns. So the first column will be for the ribbon component, where the meeting will be joined, and the second column will be for the content, and the third column will be for the chat. Okay, chat of the meeting. Okay, so we will divide this container into 3 columns, 3 different columns. Okay, so for that I think we first need to create a style file inside the styles. So here we need to create zoom.module.css. Inside that we first need to define the container height and width. So we say height of the container is 18 vh. We are going to use the viewport units, and width will be also 80 vw, and we need to define the margin from the top and from the left, 10%, margin from the left 10%. Okay, and we need to save this. We need to also import that here, the styling. So we say import meeting styles from, and here we need to set the path, and we say styles, and we need to set the path. So its path is a Zoom module CSS. Okay, we save this, and now here inside the class name we will set the container. Okay, and we will see that styling is applying successfully or not on the page. Okay, you can see we are facing destroy is not a function still. Okay, so for that issue we need to move this promise inside another promise. So we say async, and here we need to paste this. Okay, and save this, and now let's see once again. You can see now the things are working fine. Okay, we can, if refresh, all the things are, there's a no any destroy error. Okay, and now we need to define the container for the meeting. So we say div, and we also need to set the class name here. We will style that later, and we need to set the ID on that element. Okay, so the ID will be meeting SDK element. So for this meeting container we must be need to set the ID called meeting SDK element, and after that we need to define another div. We will also style that, place here the content of the page. Okay, and we will display the chat from the configuring from the customization inside the client init to right. Okay, and we will see that thing in action in this session also. Okay, so then we need to also define here meeting SDK element, and we will set the width to the meeting SDK element call. We are going to set 25%. Okay, we need to set this style. We will set it here. So we say meeting styles dot meeting SDK element. We also need to create the content styling clause selector, CSS selector. So we will say dot content, and we will set the content with 75%. The 75 and 25 will be 100%, okay, of that container. Now we need to set that here. So we say meeting styles dot content. Save this, and we need to reload this. You can see we are displaying the content here. We need to inspect this, and we will see the elements are rendering correctly. Okay, so it is fine, but we need to set the container display will be flex. Save this. Now we can see the first container is for the meeting SDK element, and second is for the content. Now we need to first select this meeting SDK element. So here we name this let meeting SDK element. We will get document dot get element by ID, and we will say it here meeting SDK element. Okay, and we will set that Zoom root app. We set meeting SDK element. Okay, now we need to move this code from here to here. Okay, and now we need to move this back to here. We need to remove this client, save this, and we will see if there is any error. Nothing, all the things are fine. Refresh. Okay, and now we need to call the API endpoint which we have created here. Okay, so we will call that by const data await, and we will call Axios, set the URL, and we will set API/Zoom. Okay, so it is a Zoom, and then we need to set the method. Method will be post data. We will set the payload, and then we need to bind them. Here we say response, return response, cage error. Here we need to log the error, console log. Here we say signature Axios request error. We log the error. We will get this payload from the URL of that component. So we first need to import the next router. So we say router from next router. Okay, and we will call that here. So we say payload router.query. Okay, and then we need to call the client to join. Okay, so we call this client dot join. Okay, and inside the join we need to set the parameters. So first one is a meeting number, and we will get that meeting number from the payload, and also we need to configure or set the signature, and we will get the signature from data. Okay, so we say data.signature, and also we need to set the SDK key. We will also get that from data.SDK key. We also need to set the username, and we will get the username from payload.username. Okay, and then we need to set TK for the token to the empty. Okay, need to save this. Need to save this page once again, and now navigate to the page. Refresh this, and you can see we are getting an error regarding the SDK key. We need to first navigate to the browser, and we will get the meeting SDK credentials from the marketplace. Click on manage, and we are inside the app configuration, and inside the app credentials we need to copy this SDK key, This is a meeting SDK app, okay? So we need to copy the SDK key and we need to paste that inside the constants here. So we paste that here, and we also need to copy the secret. We will paste that also inside the secret. Need to save this. Now we need to reload, and now you can see the SDK is loading and all the things are working fine. This error is we are getting because we do not have set any meeting number, other role, other username. So that's why we are getting this error, the failed to join the meeting. Okay. So we need to set those inside the query parameter. So we say meeting number. We will get that from the zoom.us/meetings. And we also need to set here role will be 0. Username will be learn with Nick. And we also need to define the password. So we will also get that password and meeting number from the meeting. Okay. We have a missed one parameter inside this join called password. We must need to set that password, and we will also get that from query. Okay. And now we need to navigate to the zoom.us/meetings. Here we need to schedule a meeting for the testing. Save this. Need to copy the meeting ID from the URL. Paste that here. Also need to copy the passcode. So we will show and copy that. Paste that here. Okay. Now we need to hit enter. Before that, we first need to place a breakpoint on our endpoint. So we place a breakpoint here. Now we need to hit enter. We have successfully received the request. You can see inside the body, we have a meeting number and the role is 0. And we have also SDK key and we have also SDK secret. So now let's build the signature. And we have a signature, we have a SDK key. And now we need to click on continue. And we need to navigate to the browser once again. So it is mentioning that meeting passcode is wrong. We have a typo mistake here. Okay, so I have set it the W in capital, but it is in a small. Now save this once again, reload, and you can see it is clearly mentioning that meeting has not started. Okay, so we first need to start the meeting which we have created. So click on start, launch, and join from browser. Now we need to reload the page once again. And you can see we are joined inside the component. Okay. And now we need to move this component to the center. You can see here, once we inspect the element, you can see it is our Zoom container and it is showing on the top. Okay. So we need to move this container to the center to the available height. Okay. So we just need to click this. It is a second div to the container. And we need to just say it here, align cell center. Okay. And now you can see just move to the center. Okay. So we need to navigate to the styling. And here we need to say meeting SDK element div. And here we need to say it align cell to the center. Save this. And now we need to reload once again. You can see it is loading inside the center of the container. Now we need to set the placement of the chat, of the meeting chat. Once you click on this chat, I think I need to close this. Once you click on chat, you can see it is moving on the bottom. It is going bottom to the page. We need to move this to exact right, okay, of the container. So for that, we need to style that inside the client init function. Okay, so we have here init. Inside that init, we have a customized object. Inside the customized object, we need to set the chat. Inside the chat, we need to call tuple. Inside that, we need to set placement. And here we need to set the right. Okay, save this. Need to reload. And once we click on chat, You can see it is moving on the right and it is not going bottom. Okay, now it is displaying correctly. Okay, now we need to change the sizing of the videos which are rendering inside this meeting SDK element. Okay, so for that we need to set the video customization inside the customize object by setting the video. Okay, video object, and inside that we need to set here view sizes. Inside the view sizes we have a two different type of a sizes. Okay, because on the component will be display the participant videos in three different forms if you are using component view. So it will display as a speaker view, either it will display as a gallery view, either it will display as a ribbon. So inside the view sizes, we have two different objects. So first one is a default. Inside the default, you will define the height and width, which will work for the speaker view and gallery view. Okay. So if we set here 300, and we also need to set here width will be 300, and this view sizes will be applied on a gallery view and a speaker view. And for the ribbon view, you need to set ribbon, and for the ribbon we are going to set the width of the videos inside the ribbon view. So we are setting width, and width we are setting at 400. The video render size inside the component is a 16:90 ratio. If the calculation of the ratio will not match on 16:9, then SDK will automatically render the videos by 16:9 ratio. We will need to save this. Okay, now we need to reload the page so we can see if the ribbon styling are applying. You can see the ribbon view styling is applied. Okay, once you click on this icon, you will see you have a three different type of views. One is active, ribbon, and gallery. Okay, and if you are facing any problem, you are not getting the gallery view inside the page, or you are not also getting the speaker view, the issue is that you do not have enabled the cross origin isolated on the page. You can see it is returning true here. If you are also returning true, then you will have a successfully gallery view. If you are getting here false, that means you need to enable the gallery view. Either I can say you need to enable the cross origin isolation. And how you can actually enable that? I have already created the sessions and I have uploaded those sessions on my channel. You just need to navigate to the Zoom integration playlist and you can get that session from there. And if still you are facing any problem, then you need to share your queries inside the video comment section. Either you can share your queries by my share contact details. Okay. And now if we need to click the chat, we can see it is fine. And if we need to switch this to gallery view, you can see it is a 300. That's why the gallery view is going to 300. We have set it that inside here. You can see the inside the default, it is a 300. That's why the gallery view going to be a small from the ribbon view. If we change back to ribbon, you can see, and now we need to set the greater sizes for the gallery and speaker view, and we need to save this once again. Need to reload the page. And if we switch to the gallery view, you can see the size is bigger. Okay, because we have a configure the height and width inside the view sizes, inside the view object, inside the customize. So when you are reloading the page, by default the component of the meeting SDK is in a ribbon view, and you can only max display the videos inside this ribbon view, or either I can say inside the gallery view or in active speaker view. You can only max render 25 videos inside the one page. Okay, so that's a limitation from the Zoom. So this session is going a bit long. I'm going to end this session and I will come back with another session regarding the more available customization options regarding the component view of the meeting SDK. how we can actually customize, what options we need to display, how we can actually enable, how actually we can hide or show the buttons, and all the things I will show you in the next session. So hopefully you have enjoyed this session. If you have any query regarding this session, then just please place your queries inside the video comment section. Either you can share your queries and suggestions via my share contact details. Take care. Bye bye.